Let's just jump right into this. The way that I'm going to the thing I'm going to do to base all these characters off of is it's going to be design focus. Balance might be mentioned, but it will not determine a place unless they consistently cannot balance a character, because that is a bad sign. They should be fun to play as, with, and against. Unique in their own way, i.e. pushing the design limits of the game. That's how you get the S tier spot. A character that's well designed but isn't maybe doing that will probably only land at A. You are likely going to see high skill ceiling, characters that are rewarded for you being skilled and putting the time in to learn them near the top. And you're also likely going to see simple kits that require a high level of execution. And we said, let's get into F tier. Sorry, Mercy players. I really like Mercy. She's a really fun character, but she does just kind of land in the F spot. Damage boost is a limited piece of util. She's unable to provide damage herself. And her healing isn't even that strong for it being one of the main things she can do, but she has really fun movement. Her actual design and what she brings to the game, though, is very, very limited. Not saying she's unfun, though. Very fun character. Ram is cool, but the design of his kit kind of just sucks. It's kind of just block slop. There's a free engage and disengage tool. He's just an unkillable tank, and that is just disgusting as a concept. It's just, his whole thing is that he basically doesn't die, but he's also got pretty high damage, and he's either broken or terrible. He's just terrible. Nothing really works about Ram's kit, but he is cool, and he can be fairly fun. Hug. Need I say much about Roadhog? Reliant on a one-shot, and he still feels garbage even when he is strong. He feels garbage to play when strong, and that just sucks. And he has huge sustain, huge hitbox. One-shot combo will just always ruin a character, especially on a tank. Junkrat. Sorry about this one. I really like Junkrat as well, but it just is true. This kind of just isn't how a character should ever be designed. The way the Junkrat plays just doesn't really work. His kit none of it really seems to synergize that well together in terms of, I think Trap just feels really poorly placed, and anyone that's going to say, oh yeah, but you can do this with Trap, you've just kind of learned how to deal with Trap being a thing. I'm telling you, if it wasn't there, I don't think much would change in the way you play Junkrat, and in fact, he doesn't even have that clear of a play style. Inconsistent value, inconsistent across maps, and he can just be quite unfun to play with and against. Malga's not as bad as people say, but he is still really one-dimensional, not able to do much, and he is a very toxic gameplay loop of basically just sustaining himself for a very long time. Kind of boring. Orisa is very similar to Malga. Her value is just the fact that she is undying. She literally doesn't die, but she does have some skill expression, at least with her cooldown cycle and spear and spin. But again, she's just a sustain character. But wait, let me just specify what my problem necessarily is with that. Sustain is not a bad thing, but when sustain is the only thing a character does, it leads to a very, very, very toxic design. Because in order for that character to get value, they have to have an extraordinary amount of sustain, which is unfun to play against. A character like Mei has high sustain, but is got way more skill expression with said sustain, and the character itself is able to do more than just sustain. Alright, moving on. Bastion. I don't hate Bastion, and Bastion's a cool character, but he does just revolve around one singular cooldown. That is just not a great loop for most people. He can be really frustrating to play against, or he can be super easy to play into. Very hit or miss character, game to game. Hanzo is one-shot slop. I will use this term for quite a few things, but one-shot slop, he doesn't really do much apart from randomly hit headshots, but at the same time, his storm arrows are also really, really good at tank busting, which I feel like is just shouldn't be on the same character as a one-shot thing. But I say all that, that sounds overloaded. He's not even strong, he's not even that good of a character, yet he has a one-shot and tank bursting potential, yet he still struggles. So yeah, Hanzo, not the greatest character. Sombra is way too much to yap about. She's very uninteractive. The translocator being tied to her disengage setup and engage tool is just really, really, really bad for the actual enjoyment of playing Sombra. Just really, really such a useless character that is still unfun to play against. Very unfun to play right now and very unfun to play against. There's a lot of things wrong with Sombra. The reason, by the way, some of these characters are not in F is because they're salvageable. I think F requires intense amount of reworking, whereas D is more like you just have to do a sort of rework, but a lot of the F characters are really hard to salvage. Torb, turrets just aren't that healthy. I think turrets aren't great for the game, full stop. I don't think there's much you can say about that. Just in a game like this, you kind of want something that, is a bit more skill expressive than a turret, and that's just unfortunate. And then he also just kind of has spam slop with his primary fire, so not a lot of great stuff here with Torb. Widowmaker is one-shot slop again. Feast or famine design, she's either doing nothing or she's doing everything. Really, 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 really poor design. Alari is a one-dimensional character. She just takes an angle and shoots at it. There is very little thought needed in that kit, and I know some people might like Alari and say, oh, what's wrong with that? She doesn't really provide much util, much high healing, even a high damage. She's more of just a constant poke character, and it's really, really streamlined, really, really simple, but not in the skill expressive way. There is not anything you have to learn when playing Alari. Lifeweaver's abilities that are kind of just frustrating for all parties. Not that they're bad, I like ideas, like I think they're really cool ideas, but in concept they usually just don't work that well and don't really feel that fun for the person being, life gripped out of something, or the person who had their opponent life gripped away from them. It just can be quite unfun, and I feel like he just doesn't work that well in a game with random teammates where the cohesion and playing together just doesn't really happen. And then we have Moira, who I'm going to use another term for, is just stat slop. She just farms damage and heal numbers and doesn't really do much else other than that. She's also quite toxic design for new players because, she's very, 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 very not mechanically demanding, very easy to pick up. So a lot of bronze and silver players end up hating Moira, not because they're on their team, but they hate playing against Moira because they feel like they cannot counter her because she's such an easy character to pick up. Alright, with Domina, some of the new characters are a little hard to tell because we need a bit of time, a bit of balance patches to go through to see how they are. Domina's quite strong right now, so we'll have to see when she gets nerfed, how she feels, but I think the shield is just a really unfun design for a shield, and doesn't really feel nearly as dynamic as like a Sigma shield does. So it requires to have kind of over 2 numbers and size, which makes it really unfun to play against. But at the same time, if you just had a speed comp push her out of it, it ends up being useless. So it's a really weird thing there. And then I think her stun is just way too easy to land, especially in comparison to like a Sigma rock. Domina basically stops anyone getting on her because this cooldown is impossible to miss if someone is near you. Yeah, I think Domina she's not bad. C tier is really just the middle of the road. Like, they're fine. They can go either way. Depends on different changes. But right now, Domina just doesn't really feel like she cuts it that well. Doom's got a really fun kit and a pretty well-designed kit, apart from the fact that he currently has an over-reliance on empowered punch, and that's just not very fun to play against, or to play as a Doom. Having to just constantly try farm empower punch to do anything is not very fun. Zarya, very selfish design, hard to kill, high damage, very versatile, lots of problems. People don't really like playing against Zarya, especially in 5v5. I think that being able to double shield yourself just feels very uninteractive, and it makes you feel less like you're having to play a team game and focus on your teammates. You just kind of focus on yourself, selfish, push people. Is what it is, middle of the road. See, Cass is fine, but I think Hinder is just a super frustrating cooldown for a lot of people. And he still will always be underperforming no matter what buffs he gets. And I think he definitely has a less identity than he used to, especially because his range just feels all over the place. I feel like he's not just a close range hit scan, he's got much more medium range to him, which means there's a line being blurred across all hit scans where they're kind of all doing the same thing. And it's kind of hurting Cass a little bit here. Freya to me is not inherently that bad, but the spam of take aim shots is not that fun, and they really need to figure out a direction to put her into, because right now she's sort of just floating and not really got a clear direction and clear identity. But once they figure that out and they start being more radical with the changes to Freya, I think we could definitely see Freya, secure and be a much more secure C or B spot. Sojourn, she's just got a massive reliance on headshot rail, and I think that's bad. I mean, it's not nearly as bad as some of the other like one-shot characters below, because she still has a fun movement cooldown, good skill expression with her left click to right click. There's a difficult ult there. It's still hard character, and there's still lots of nuance and fun stuff going on there, but there is just an over-reliance on overclock. Soldier's the definition of a C tier. He's so fine. I think his main problem right now is that heal station locks him in place, essentially. He's a character that likes to rotate constantly and just keep taking these various angles and shooting from afar. But heal station makes it so that he can't rotate off his angle once he's placed down heal station, otherwise he doesn't get healed. If they somehow made this more into a stim pack thing that like cancelled when he stopped sprinting or something, like a sprint to heal type situation, Victor from Paladins, it could be better that way. We'll see. Vendetta is being balanced horribly right now, which kind of holds back a lot of what she could do, but in my opinion the design is fine, if not just a little bit boring sometimes. But there is just such a reliance currently on the overhead crit damage it's insane. But if we strip back some of that, give her some, faster cooldowns, better cooldowns, I think we could see her being a much more fair and honest designed character. Cat, I think Cat has a really cool design, but again, just kind of really, really focus on that one thing, which is the tether, being able to, take teammates across the map and stuff. I just think is not the best thing for a character to rely on, something that relies on teammates. It just feels like that's not always the best approach that you want to go with. And I think Cat has a really boring primary fire, and rest of their abilities, it really is just a real focus on that, tethering tool. Kiriko has some problems. Suzu's pretty overloaded, and I think the TP is really interactive. But otherwise, it's not too bad. It could be a lot worse. The character definitely serves a purpose, has a clear design, clear skill ceiling, clear this, that, but just got some overloaded cooldowns. Alright, kicking off B tier, we've got Mizuki. Mizuki basically has nothing wrong, but he lacks any true complexity or unique presence that normally brings other people up a tier. And also I want to give it a bit more time to see how he fits in. Ryan is a really well-balanced design kit, but it is clear that he does struggle a lot in 5v5, especially in the high ranks, and that is just a problem. He can feel really awful to play, feel like you get bullied, slapped around a whole ton, but then in the low ranks, he's really dominant and has an over-reliance on his shield, and his shield is really disgusting to those low-rank players. And even to high rank, the shield is just such a strong part of his kit, and that's just not a good thing to rely on. Diva's cool, but I think Matrix is just a fairly unhealthy design in 5v5 Overwatch, and her ult is only ever used to basically get a second life. It is never an active cooldown, which is kind of boring and really strong, and broken in the right hands. Even the pro player Hawk believes that this is the best tank ult. Diva's ult is just broken because it's just, you can basically go in 800 health and then just remech, which is kind of crazy. We have Bap. I like Bap's weapon dynamic. I like the shoot heal. I think it's really, really fun, but I think it's really boring and simple cooldowns, which really limits his kit. Immortality Field is just sort of a poorly designed ability. It's not that broken as it used to be in 66 and stuff, but it is quite a boring, unfun, uninteractive ability. Hazard has a super cool design. I just think he has, again, a reliance on his block. I think sometimes these characters a lot of characters here just have slight things where they're just relying too much on something. His block just has a lot on it, just the damage, the mitigation. It's just, he basically jumps in and then just holds block the whole time. And I just think it would be more fun if he had a bit more power in other areas and wasn't focused so much on a block design. But otherwise, he's a really cool character. Boar does a really cool designed kit as well. Really, really fun. The grapple's great, but I just think he's quite underfun to play against at the moment, at least. And he has been for a while. That's kind of where the idea that he's just not being balanced that well, even though the kit is really nice and fun. I think people just really don't enjoy being slammed by 1,000 health target that does a lot of damage, knocks them up, displaces them, and then has huge mobility and sustain. People just don't enjoy that much. Unrun, time will tell, but I think at the moment she has a very inoffensive kit. Burns just straight up will feel more unfun to play against than raw damage. They just always will. There's something about it. Burning just feels worse because it feels like you're taking more damage even if you're not than if you just took one shot and then you took cover. It's completely psychological. I forgot that. Emre. Emre's cool. I think Emre's got a really cool designed hit scan kit. He just doesn't have that much depth or that much uniqueness that he brings, and so that really is going to cap him out this B tier. Reaper's way overhated. I think he's just got a really simple, efficient kit. There's nothing crazy about him, but there's actually nothing awful about him. A perfect B tier. Same with Symmetra. Symmetra's a bit overhated. She's very niche, she's very unique, and I like that. She needs some small balance tweaks, of course, but she's fundamentally such a unique and amazing character that does actually work really well. She's not that unfair, she's not that punishing, but she's so unique and skillful that I just have to give her the B tier. The fact that this design can exist without it being completely toxic is amazing, and that deserves the B. Vengeance also really, really fun, but it just doesn't really push the design space too much further. And I think there is also, again, just a reliance on a combo, and just some small bits. But overall, they get a B. Zen's pretty good, but 5v5 Discord Orb will never feel fun for anyone, and he has quite an outdated ult. I just realised I was in the A tier and I forgot to put Wuyong in B. Wuyong's in B. He's either got a really cool design weapon, he just lacks a bit of depth or any interesting abilities. Perfect B tier. Okay, moving on to the A tiers. We've got Brig. I love Brig. Brig's one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character. She's pretty perfectly designed. She's just not an S tier. There's nothing really wrong with her at all, but I just wouldn't say that she is on par with the current like S tier heroes. I just wouldn't put her in that category, in my opinion. Genji, not quite S. Again, very well designed character, really, really great. But he's, for some reason to me, evidently not an S tier character. Just because he's been way less potent than he used to be and just shows up a whole lot less and is just not nearly as dominant as some of these other S tier characters. And I don't know what that is. Something is just off about Genji. I need someone to tell me what's off about Genji. Because even when Tracer was at her weakest, we still saw Tracer being played. Even when Winston's weak, we still see Winston play. We still see these Lucios. We still see these other characters. Genji, it's just not happening. And I don't know what's up with that, because he does have a really well-designed kit. Queen is a great tank design. A little bit of reliance on some like lifesteal and carnage stuff, but I think it's great. I think she's still a very welcome tank, one of the best designed tanks in the game. Sigma has been a little overtuned recently, but his kit is very interactive, very dynamic, and fun to play. It doesn't really feel that disgusting to play against. Obviously, he's been a bit overtuned recently, but that's still beside the point. Very, very well designed tank kit. Very much has benefited in 5v5 compared to 6v6. Ashe is, in my opinion, the perfect hitscan design. There's not a better hitscan design than Ashe. Some balance errors recently, but that's about it. This is how a sniper character should work. Echo has a great design. I'm not a fan too much. This is sort of a weird point. I don't know how many people know about this, but I'm not a fan of how they've kind of abandoned the fact that Echo used to be able to do this thing where she would like hybrid the poke dive playstyle. She used to, in my opinion, be the most flexible character in the entire game because you could poke out and you could dive really easily. But after 225 health, the sticky stuff, she really is only good at the flanking, jumping on someone, sticky beam combo, get out. She used to be way better at the poke stuff, and I kind of miss that hybrid playstyle she used to have. Mei is way overlooked on design. Ward is such a useful, unique, thoughtful, skill-expressive ability. And she has such a fun little primary fire. Really, really great character. Deserves the A tier just because of the uniqueness and the design space that's pushed with Mei and how successful she is in that space. I think she deserves the A tier. Same thing with Pharah, again, just amazing design after rework. She's just this mobile projectile flanker. I think a character like her working is again just something that deserves all the praise. She really, really, really is just one of the great flex DPSs right now. I think she's seriously in a great spot. Juno is evidence of simplicity being effective. Just a simple kit that people love. Very effective. Winston, I have a whole separate video drawn out Winston, but he is just the perfect tank. Like, there's just nothing wrong with Winston. Simple, effective, hard to master, really, really rewarding, really versatile. Such a great character. Literally nothing to complain about. Tracer, the classic, perfect hero. Super rewarding, dynamic, skill expressive. I always enjoy playing Tracer. Just seriously one of the best characters to ever exist in a video game. Lucio as well. Lucio is just, again, I'm just using them perfect because these characters up here are perfect. Again, just a simple kit that needs to be executed on really, really, really well. And he's super rewarding. Ana, right? Okay, Ana I think is perfectly designed, but I think balance has been a bit of a problem. Some balance in 5v5 has definitely hurt Ana a lot, but design-wise, she is pretty much perfect. She's a hero of choices. She always has to choose between, does she want to nade her team? Does she want to nade an enemy? Does she want to shoot to do damage or shoot to heal? Does she want to save sleep for a dive, or does she want to be active for sleep? Does she want to defensively nano? Does she want to defensively nano? Like there's just always different things and decisions you're making, and I think that is great. Just the high decision making is amazing. The best Anas know when to make what decision, when, and where. Like, it's just perfect. There's just been some small issues, I think, in the balance side, especially with 5v5. That's hurt Ana a lot. But the design is fundamentally amazing. Anyway, that's the whole list. Hope you enjoyed. I do not mind disputing any of these claims. This is all just my opinion on what I like as a design thing. I just really like, unique kits that are simple, effective, and feel fair and rewarding to learn. There's been a lot of yapping. Enjoy.